Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Trinity University December graduation exercises. I now call this ceremony to order and ask that you remain seated. Thank you.
rise for our invocation and remain standing for the singing of our national anthem. Let us unite our hearts in prayer. Great God, we are thankful for lives lived illumined by your constant and loving presence. We celebrate the graduates gathered today. We celebrate the ways in which they are now further equipped for effective service, building and strengthening the human community, challenging themselves and those among whom they live to be your agents of justice and caring. We pray that we have been worthy stewards of our time together. Encourage us all by the ceremony of this day, and guide us as we venture forth, we pray. Amen.
Stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the road is red of answers in air. These prove through the night that our flag was still there. See those that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Please be seated. Distinguished guests, friends, and family, on behalf of the trustees of Trinity University, our faculty, staff, and alumni, and on behalf of our master's degree candidates and the class of 2014, yes, the day has arrived. It's my pleasure to welcome you to these winter commencement exercises. For 146 years, Trinity has been guided by a board of trustees whose membership has changed, but whose commitment, energy, and love for the university have never wavered. All those who care about Trinity give thanks to this band of leaders for their hard work, wise counsel, and unreserved support for this great university. I ask the representatives of the board who are with us today to stand so that we can express our gratitude to you and to those you represent. Since 1869, Trinity has conferred degrees on students who have successfully completed one of its demanding courses of study. As those before them, the candidates assembled here today have experienced extensive intellectual and personal growth at Trinity, a growth nurtured and encouraged by our faculty and staff, very often far beyond the call of duty. Learning is Trinity's first enterprise. Today, we honor it with diplomas that mark our degree candidates' arrival at an important milestone in its course. As we do this, we also honor teaching and those who have taught them. Will the representatives of the faculty and staffs now stand so that we may salute you and your colleagues. We would also like to salute our alumni who know firsthand the value of a Trinity education and many of whom worked tirelessly on behalf of the university in myriad ways for many years after they have left its beloved campus. Will all the Trinity alumni in the auditorium please stand and be recognized? And I believe none of you have outstanding library fines or parking fines. So. There is another group that deserves special recognition during these ceremonies. Our degree candidates know full well that they would not be here today if it were not for the support of family, friends, and donors whose encouragement, support, and indeed sacrifice have done so much to make this day possible. Degree candidates, representatives of the faculty and staff, please rise and join me in saluting those who have made such critical contributions to the achievements we honor here today. The opportunity to know Trinity students and to celebrate their many accomplishments is one of the true joys of being part of this community. Our students are talented, motivated, and willing to take on great challenges. They are also extremely generous in sharing their time and their energy with others. Monica Clifford exemplifies these qualities. Graduating today with bachelor's degrees in both history and communication, she is a typical overachieving Trinity student. Monica has been an active member of Tiger TV, the campus television station, which I assume you all watch religiously. She has served as program manager and executive producer of Studio 21. In addition, she was the arts and entertainment writer for the Trinitonian, the university newspaper. It is with great pleasure that I introduce to you our student speaker, Monica Clifford.
Welcome, faculty, staff, trustees, parents, and families. Welcome also to my fellow December graduates, including those in the Healthcare Administration program, with whom we are proud to share this celebration of achievement. In the fall of my sophomore year, I took the middle school practicum class through the education department. Once a week, I traveled to Jackson Middle School and observed 2 classes. Near the end of the semester, our big assignment was to teach a lesson to middle schoolers. So my subject of choice is history, so I decided to teach a class of 7th graders a lesson about how important history is. At the end of the lecture, I asked the students to write down some of the important historical events they'd seen in their lifetime. When I asked them to share, they offered a variety of suggestions: the September 11th attacks, the election of Barack Obama, the BP oil spill. Then the class clown raised his hand and said with absolutely feigned sincerity, "When Justin Bieber cut his hair?" And the class burst into laughter, as did I. If you're older than, say, 22, I can clue you in. He was referring to the time when Justin Bieber shed his signature long and shaggy hairstyle, very boyish, in favor of a more grown-up and clean-cut look. Now, most of us would not consider this a significant historical event, and that's why we laugh. But I haven't forgotten this story, and this is why. Who decides what is history and what is history? In official italics. The distinction is slight but profound. In a larger discourse, who determines what is worth remembering and what we can afford to forget? As a history major, this is an issue with which I struggle in a big way. Why do we remember, for example, so much about Rosa Parks when Claudette Colvin refused to give up her seat 9 months earlier? Well, the answer is easy, because what followed Rosa Parks' courageous act was the Montgomery bus boycott, an extremely significant movement that resulted in a Supreme Court ruling determining segregation on buses to be unconstitutional. But Claudette Colvin was just as brave and just as angry at the injustice she faced. Rosa Parks simply managed to be defiant at the exact right point in history. I think both women ought to be celebrated and praised, but I think this example illustrates something important for all of us here today. We have spent years on this campus. We have taken dozens of classes, attended hundreds of parties, met tons and tons of people. We've pulled countless all-nighters, written thousands of pages of essays, and eaten so many breakfast tacos. But what will we remember? Of all the days, of all the classes, of all the people, what will linger in our minds as the most significant, the most life-changing, the best moments of these, the so-called best years of our lives? See, personal history is a lot like history of everything else. It's not as though we remember every single paper, every single taco. We remember the ones that made us feel something. The moments where we were shocked, made uncomfortable, or were proven wrong. The times we learned something extraordinary or saw something truly beautiful. These were the times when our lives changed. The course of our history was altered. Some of the most significant moments of my time here at Trinity were unexpected. I took my first-year seminar with Dr. Aaron Delwich and learned about secret histories of the 20th century told mostly through comic books. And I became completely enraptured with the comics medium as a beautiful, inventive way to tell a story. Because of this class, I added a second major, communication, and also became an avid comic book collector. I auditioned for one of Trinity's 3 television shows on a whim within the first few frantic weeks of freshman year. And today I graduate as the executive producer of that same show, Studio 21, shameless plug. Teaching sounded interesting to me as a freshman, so I took a class on urban education policy and practice with the lovely Dr. Jeffrey Nordine, and now I want to devote my life to teaching students in an urban setting. I responded over email to a random classmate I'd never met who asked for help, and now he's my best friend and my boyfriend. So my time at Trinity has been filled with these moments that seemed so insignificant at their inception and had a profound effect on where I am today, on the story I have had so far. Fellow graduates, think about the teachers and classes and people and experiences that have shaped you. Here at Trinity, we have discovered so many things. We have grown immeasurably, and we have become simultaneously more convinced of ourselves and something so new. Trinity's new marketing plan includes the 3 words discover, grow, and become. I like these words a lot. To me, they describe the basic process of history. An event occurs, it impacts other things, and eventually we reach definite and new. I agree with them too in the context of college. We entered Trinity hoping to discover new things, to grow because of these things, and by the time we graduate, to become something. At that point, we had a history already. We all came from such different places, but we were eager and ready to observe all sorts of new things. We were, in a word, impressionable. In terms of discovery, we didn't always have a choice what we discovered. So some of us discovered we really did want to be pre-med or engineers. But most of us discovered we did not want to be pre-med or engineers. Many of us discovered that alcohol is lots of fun, but many of us also discovered that alcohol isn't quite so fun. We discovered different fields, different viewpoints, different cultures, and different ways of seeing the world. We immersed ourselves in this pattern of discovery. Really, as a freshman, we wanted to discover everything we could. It was my freshman year, after watching the greatest TV show of all time, which, in case you were wondering, is The Wire, that I proudly declared to myself, if ignorance is bliss, I'd rather be sad. I wanted to discover everything I could about this world. Then things get a little stranger when we get to the grow part. Even if we all shared a lot of the same experiences, we didn't grow in all the same ways. That professor who taught huge classes by Trinity's standards that some folks took for common curriculum, he helped shape your future career path. This, for me, was Dr. Alan Counselor, whose fervent belief in the power of history education continues to inspire me. That class where the kid sitting next to you was never paying attention, that class changed your life. This, for me, was my powerful Holocaust class with the sharp, provocative, and entirely warm Dr. Jason Johnson. That guest lecture where plenty of students had never heard of the speaker, it left you breathless because you got to hear someone you so respect speak to you and your peers. This, for me, was, among others, the hilarious writer Chuck Klosterman, the amazingly innovative comics writer and artist Linda Berry, and of course, Woodward and Bernstein. While this stark difference might be kind of sad, it just means that your story is different. It's yours. There's a unique beauty to your Trinity experience. No one has taken exactly the same classes as you have. No one has gone to exactly the same events or joined exactly the same clubs, although they've probably all ordered similar things from Taco Taco. But some of your history you have shaped. Some of it has been shaped by others. Your reactive emotions, your takeaway from all that has happened here, have shaped your history. And the resulting product, the become part, is entirely up to you. I really appreciate the ambiguity of the word become. It doesn't say become smarter or become an adult. It's just a verb with no adjective or noun to follow. It manages to feel strangely both complete and incomplete, which is how history should be. Though so much has happened, so much more is yet to happen. We have become scholars, artists, and scientists, but what's exciting is that there extends before us so much more to do and learn and experience, both in our fields of choice and outside of it. History can be a really difficult subject to study because of the wide range of experiences and views. There are certain events we all agree are significant, but why, and from whose perspective? The reason it is so frustrating and yet so fascinating to study is because it's about people. And people, as we all know, are pretty varied in their experiences, their beliefs, their determinations of what is important. This is a big reason why I love it, frankly. History is written by the victors, as we all know, but this doesn't mean that other stories aren't out there and worth listening to. This is why I like the idea of a personal history. Of all the moments of these last few years here at Trinity, it is up to you to determine what was forgettable and what was valuable. And perhaps those valuable moments include, for you, the time when Justin Bieber cut his hair. I mean, maybe you're a communication scholar who analyzed Twitter responses to his change in hairstyle. Maybe you learned how much celebrity worship is ingrained in our culture. Who's to say what you pick? It's your history and your story. And though it has undergone significant and positive changes over your time here at Trinity, it is by no means over. In fact, it is just beginning. And isn't that something gorgeous? Congratulations to my fellow graduates on an outstanding achievement. We've made it through. Let's today remember our own histories and yet embrace the future.
Now, as Monica was outlining her history and the history of the class of 2014, I think she transposed two quantities. I think she meant to say hundreds of classes, but only dozens of parties rather than the reverse. Correct, class of 2014? Erin Baker is the president of the Alumni Association and chair of the National Alumni Board. Erin graduated from Trinity in 1999 with a BA in anthropology. She then studied at University College Dublin and received a master's in economic science in European economics and public affairs. Erin is vice president of Guggenheim Partners, LLC. Erin joined the National Alumni Board as director in 2010. Additionally, she served the Alumni Association for several years as the president of the Chicago chapter. It's a pleasure to introduce Erin Baker, president of Trinity University Alumni Association.
Good morning. President Dahlberg, thank you for the introduction, and thank you, graduates, for allowing me to be a part of your commencement ceremony. It is an important day for you, and it is my great privilege to share in it and to give you a few thoughts on being an alumna of Trinity University. I graduated from Trinity with a BA in anthropology, and my path since then has really been wonderfully nonlinear, which I think really reflects the encouragement I got at Trinity to live a little and to be open to opportunity. After graduation, I spent a year working on a ranch in New Mexico. I then moved to Italy to study Italian. From Italy, I moved to Ireland, where I obtained my master's in European Economic and Public Affairs at University College Dublin. On completing my graduate degree, I moved sight unseen to Chicago for a position in what was then a little-known financial services firm called Guggenheim Partners, where I had a loose job description around corporate governance and employee relations in a whole area called Other. I learned to embrace Other, as Other often means opportunity. I have now been incredibly with Guggenheim for 12 years and have been a part of its growth into a well-known financial services firm, and where I now serve as Chief of Staff to our Chief Operating Officer, a position I find incredibly rewarding. It is without question that through my years of personal and professional development, my Trinity experience and degree have served me well. It is also without question that the Trinity alumni community has served me well. When I moved to Chicago, it was for a job that was a big unknown and to a city where I had no personal connections. Adult life had suddenly become disturbingly real, and it was hard. I needed support and friends, and I found both in the Chicago chapter of the Alumni Association. I went to an alumni happy hour event and immediately was befriended by Trinity alums who, without asking, introduced me to their networks and helped me to begin to feel more grounded in a new city and career. It was a community that welcomed me and provided a connection back to this campus, and it has been the source of some of my greatest friendships. You too will find that when you leave here, Trinity alums are eager to know and help you. Our 25,000 plus alumni are all over the world. We have 22 alumni chapters and counting across the US that host events, and an active and dedicated body of alumni who are very valuable networking and job resources. These benefits of friendship, of making new connections, of community, and a common history are what the Trinity University Alumni Association is all about and why I am here today. My life has been enriched by my alumni connections, and I want yours to be too. As you move out in the world, you will come to appreciate how special the Trinity community really is, and if you are like me, you will seek out the smart, funny, open, generous, authentic, and successful people that Trinity University graduates. We really are a tribe apart, and as you walk across this stage today, you join me in this alumni community. Like each of you, I spent a great deal of money and effort on obtaining my Trinity degree. A degree from Trinity University is a valuable thing, but it only remains valuable so long as the outside world knows about this very unique and incredible university and the exceptional experience we have all had here. Our engagement as alumni is critical in ensuring that message is heard, and so I have 3 simple requests to you as I welcome you to our Alumni Association. 1, keep in touch. Keep in touch with me. You can find my information in the alumni directory online. Make sure yours is there too. Keep in touch with the alumni office and let them know how you are doing, what you are doing, and where you are, so you hear about chapter events and other activities in your area. 2, get involved. Attend a chapter networking event. Volunteer your time and help recruit new students. Seek leadership opportunities at a local chapter or with the National Alumni Board. Please take my job. It's really rather rewarding to be on this side of the podium. Number 3, support Trinity. Your financial support is important, so give back as you are able. It is not about the amount. It is a statement of values that tells the world that you think Trinity is a worthy investment. Trinity's very success relies on alumni participation, for who better than us to tell the Trinity story? Your time on campus may be drawing to a close, but your engagement with Trinity is lifelong. I warmly welcome you to our Alumni Association and encourage you to join me as brand ambassadors of our alma mater. We all share the pride of holding a degree from Trinity University. And I'm pleased to tell you that the Alumni Association has a little parting gift for you to show off that pride. Following commencement, you and your family can pick up free Trinity University license plate frames. So be sure to stop by that table outside and go forth and show off your pride in our alma mater. Thank you for your time this morning and congratulations. I wish each of you every possible success. Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron. Trinity University's distinguished faculty teach, advise, and inspire our students to think, to question, and to achieve. This semester, Dr. Don Van Ende, Professor of Management in the School of Business and Special Assistant to the President for Change Management, retires after devoting more than 3 decades to Trinity students. Please join me in thanking him for his dedicated service and the influence that he has had on so many Trinity students over the years. It is a singular honor to introduce our commencement speaker, Dr. David Crockett, Professor and Chair of Political Science Department. David is the recipient of the 2014 Z.T. Scott Faculty Fellowship. He is a superb teacher, advisor, scholar, and mentor. Those words also apply to Professor Van Ende, and they are words that you will hear often at Trinity, but not so often at other places. David has profoundly enhanced and expanded the educational experience available to Trinity students for nearly 2 decades. David is the author of 2 books, Running Against the Grain, How Opposition Presidents Win the White House, and The Opposition President, Leadership and the Constraints of History. He also has a book project underway titled The Perils of Restoration Politics. He is a frequent contributor to news articles about politics and the presidency, and has been quoted in local regional publications, including the New York Times, which covers a large region, US News and World Report, and the Wall Street Journal. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Dr. David Crockett.
Thank you, President Alberg, for that nice introduction, and warm greetings to my colleagues on the faculty and staff, members of the Board of Trustees, distinguished guests, family members and friends, and of course, graduates. I'm honored to speak to you today. Graduates, welcome to your final lecture. But don't worry, I'm not going to take the entire period. The main event is yet to come, and I'm only a very small speed bump on that way. Now, traditionally, commencement speakers take this opportunity to focus on the transition of one phase of life to the next and to exhort and encourage graduates to do great things in the future. But rather than focus on new beginnings, I want to focus on endings. You have all proven that you can finish something, which is why that you're here. And some of you are not only finishing your college career, but you are finishing it well. And so what I want to do today is talk about finishing well, not just a degree program, but life itself. Now, it's not my intention to be morbid on this festive occasion, so I'm going to channel Aristotle In the Nicomachean Ethics, Aristotle argues that all human beings seek happiness as the highest human good. It's higher than health or wealth, higher than pleasure, power, or honor, because those are all things we seek for the sake of happiness. Happiness, though, we seek that for its own sake. And happiness is not the bland, watered-down, contemporary sense of pleasant feelings. For Aristotle, happiness refers to everything that goes into making human beings thrive and flourish as rational animals, living a life that makes full use of the moral and intellectual virtues, really living a good life. But what I've always found interesting about Aristotle's argument is his insight that we really can't truly call someone happy until he's dead, because we need to know how his life ends before we can assess all the data. Now, his example was King Priam of Troy, who lived a long life, and he had it all: power, fame, honor, wealth, several wives, 50 sons, and the most beautiful daughter-in-law in the world. But if we faculty have done our jobs right, you know what happened. He lost it all at the end when the Greeks sacked Troy. Aristotle understood that no one would envy Priam because of his end. To employ an artistic metaphor, our lives are like a novel or a movie, in that they unfold in time. And I imagine we have all had the experience of reading a book or watching a movie thinking everything was proceeding swimmingly until the ending ruined it. For my wife, that was The Great Escape. Now, this is a great movie. It has everything you would want: Nazi villains, courageous POWs, Steve McQueen on a motorcycle. But when we got to the end and the Nazis did what Nazis do, spoiler alert, my wife, who was not familiar with the story, turned to me aghast and said, "Are you serious?" And ever since then, the movie has been known in our house as The Not So Great Escape. So I'd submit to you that finishing well is very important. Aristotle isn't the only ancient writer to comment on the value of ending well. The Christian apostle Paul of Tarsus loved to employ sports metaphors in his letters, constantly referring to running the race or competing in games, very much the idea of living life as a long-distance runner. And we can all think of examples where an athlete relaxed with 10 meters to go in a race only to lose the gold, or where our team was 20 seconds away from a championship and couldn't slam the door on LeBron James. Paul gave up traditional power for a higher calling, even though it led to execution at the hands of the Roman state. And while you might say that both Paul of Tarsus and Priam of Troy came to similarly unhappy ends, in his final letter to his disciple Timothy, Paul felt confident enough in the conduct of his life that he could say he had fought the good fight, he had finished the course, he had kept the faith. So for him, the end was victorious, and he finished well. So taking these examples from the ancient world, my primary injunction to you graduates today is to finish well. Whether undergraduates or graduate students, you are leaving one phase of your formal education and embarking on what is tritely known as the rest of your life. And I want to suggest to you that it is not too early to think about how your biography will be written when you are gone. And if finishing well, if going the distance is important to you, and it should be, it makes sense to think about how we should do what we should do now to get where we want to be then. And since this is a commencement ceremony, I will highlight 3 things that you should have gotten from your experience here at Trinity that can help you finish well. First, recognize that your education does not have to end. We talk here about creating lifelong learners, and it's true. Education does not have to end, and it shouldn't. Now, I'm the first person to acknowledge that much of the substance that you've digested in your courses here will not add anything to your 401k or to your prospects for promotion. But your life will be more colorful if you can see the connection between the Matrix and Plato's Republic, understand that Forbidden Planet is a science fiction gloss on Shakespeare's The Tempest, or ponder the irony of the fact that Stalin and Prokofiev died on the same day. So I strongly urge you to continue your education. When you read for pleasure, and I don't think you can be considered liberally educated if you don't read for pleasure, insert something timeless into your queue. Maybe you can make every 10th book something that was written over 100 years ago. Listen to music that takes up more than 4 minutes on your iPod, something that's complex and demands sustained attention. And while you're at it, do something really radical and unplug, disconnect. Maybe go on a social media fast and learn the disciplines of solitude and contemplation. Now, how will this serve the cause of ending well? I would argue that how you spend your free time is just as important as how you spend your time at work. What is your free time free for? In other words, when you have freedom, how do you use it? Quite simply, your life will be more enriched. You will have taken the intellectual feast that you have been privileged to consume these past few years and sustained it throughout your entire life. You'll be able to say someday that this concert was a transcendent experience, or that this book changed the way you thought about something. I hope you have already had these experiences, but they don't have to end until you end well. Second, recognize that the habits of education do not have to end. And I hope that one habit you have been encouraged to develop here is openness to new data. Socrates understood that the more you know, the more you should realize you don't know. Now, intellectual pride is a vice particularly common to academics, but the fact is that the more education you have, the more you know about less. So I think it's important to have a strong sense of intellectual humility. We teach you here to question things and search for answers. Well, don't stop questioning things, and don't stop searching for answers. Test arguments. Don't think you have all the answers about things you really aren't qualified to think that about. On a practical level, don't think that the final word has been given by your favorite talk radio host, or shouting head on what passes for television news, or your favorite blogger. Instead, take a look at different sides and draw conclusions only after a careful examination of facts and logic. Being open to new data doesn't mean you can't have firm principles or convictions. It just means you're always open to better arguments. How will this serve the cause of ending well? Well, if nothing else, it will prevent you from looking like a fool. Knowing what you don't know is a form of knowledge. But more important, if you think you know what you don't know, if you are not open to new data and new arguments, you're basically saying that the habits of education developed here stop here. They're not transferable to real life. And I'd like to think that when your biography is written, the book will say that you were always growing and learning, that you made those around you better by your presence, that you set a good example as a colleague, as a supervisor, as a friend. You'll be a better employer, you'll be a better entrepreneur, you'll be a better spouse, parent, friend, and colleague. And maybe, just maybe, if more people were willing to do this, we would see a change in our political culture, which all too often assumes ill will on the part of others simply because of the party label they wear. One of my greatest failures as a teacher took place in a classroom several years ago. The students were having a vigorous discussion about some hot-button issue. Finally, one exasperated student exclaimed that the whole exercise was futile because, and I quote, "No one's going to change their minds." Really? No one's going to change their minds? Folks, if we can't be open to arguments, if we can't be persuadable, that is the victory of pride over truth. None of us should be so dogmatic that we refuse to consider the possibility that we are wrong. That's what leading a self-examined life means. Being open to new data and being willing to change your mind when presented with a superior argument. Third, recognize that the character and virtues acquired in the educational process do not end. More important than the details of course material are the virtues you have acquired in successfully navigating the curriculum to get here today. And I'm speaking particularly of virtues such as diligence, perseverance, and endurance. I've often told students that it doesn't take a genius to get a PhD, but it does take diligence, perseverance, and endurance. And you've already seen this in your education. Every time you push through the various tasks articulated on a course syllabus, you have demonstrated diligence. Every time you figured out how to juggle 2 or 3 exams in one day or get 2 papers in before the Thanksgiving break, you demonstrated perseverance. Every time you chose not to give up after a setback in class, maybe a bad grade or a lack of understanding about a topic, but instead fought through the desire to quit and ultimately succeeded, you demonstrated endurance. How will this serve the cause of ending well? Well, I suspect that's self-evident. This is certainly one place where your training and character should pay off for just about anything really worth doing in life, from working on marital relationships to raising children to making things better in your profession and community to making Republican government work, takes diligence, perseverance, and endurance. When you complained about seemingly irrational course expectations or the collision of multiple assignments due on the same day, just wait until the day comes when you have an argument with your spouse, a kid struggling with algebra, a car that breaks down, a less than desirable medical diagnosis, and a boss who tells you the report's due a day earlier than you expected. Contrary to those who believe we are here to serve and entertain students as though they were customers, I would gently suggest that education should be difficult, because life is difficult. In fact, I think it's a truism that without these qualities, it's impossible to end well. Finally, I realize, of course, that it's a bit strange that I would presume to talk about ending well when I have not yet done so myself. But that's the odd thing about ending well. Once you've done it, it's too late to give commencement addresses about it. And since none of us knows how long our biography will be, it's a good thing to start working on now. So I close with the words of that wise sage, Gandalf the Grey. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us. So congratulations, graduates, but don't stop here. Choose now to end well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Crockett. Will the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Arts please rise and remain standing? Will the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Science please rise and remain standing? In addition to these candidates, there are in absentia other candidates for the baccalaureate degree whose names appear in the program. Mr. President, on behalf of the faculty of Trinity University, I recommend these candidates for the baccalaureate degree.
By the authority delegated to me by the Board of Trustees, and in accordance with the provisions of the Charter of Trinity University, I now confer upon those of you who have met the graduation requirements, the baccalaureate degree for which you have been recommended, with all of the rights, privileges, and responsibilities pertaining thereto.
Will the recipients of these degrees please be seated? The recipients of the baccalaureate degrees will now come forward to receive their diplomas and be greeted by the President and by Mr. Douglas Hawthorne, Chairman of the Board of Trustees. While the candidates are coming forward, I would like to call your attention to that section of the program which explains honors at graduation. In order to emphasize the achievements of the honor graduates, I will call the honor each has received when I call the graduate's name. Candidates receiving Latin honors with a grade point average of 3.5 or more wear the President's Award of Excellence Maroon Honor Stole. These names will also be listed on the Trinity website when grades are finalized next month. Bachelor of Arts, Rebecca E. Aldifer. Sarah C. Brashears. Matthew Ferguson Casciola. Monica Nell Clifford, cum laude. Victoria C. Copenhaver. Maria del Pilar de Blesser Collado. Dylan A. Ellett. Helen Teresa Figgenshoe, cum laude. Elizabeth Marie Gilbert, magna cum laude. Callan M. Heckler, presenting the degree as Trinity Technical Support Analyst and Father, Mr. Larry Heckler. Joseph Bailey Wright Jaber. Caroline A. Jakubowski. Kelly Ray Johnston. Autumn S. Curvella. Stephen Bryden McClure. Jennifer L. Miller. Sarah E. Miller. Marissa Noel Olmo. Howard L. Reese. Leonard D. Schatzman. Zara Lowe Sowens, magna cum laude. Samuel Rands Taylor, cum laude. John R. Templeton. Christina L. Versailles. Sophia M. Vivanco. Samantha Mercedes Vogel. David J. Wimsat. Lauren Kimberly Whitty, summa cum laude. Grace Shui Yu. Bachelor of Science, Michael Christopher Bailey. Rachel M. Barnes, summa cum laude. Patrick Elder Butler. Maria Fernanda Coronel. Julian Y. Kronk. Bradley K. Drennan. Shelby Noel Eberlin. Domingo K. Aparna P. Gomez. Cody A. Half. Liza A. Henneberg, cum laude. William Trevor Holt. Sophia Huther, cum laude. Desmond L. King. Brian C. Kovacs. Somang Lee. Linda P. Madden. Nicholas E. Moreno. Emily Elizabeth Nelson, cum laude. Derek John Platt. Jillian E. Pretty. Jasmine Kate Rodriguez. Neftali Rodriguez III. Jacob Andrew Salinas. Hudson R. Smith. George Wayne Warren III. William M. Young. This concludes the presentation of the bachelor's degrees. Congratulations to you all. Will the candidates for the degree of Master of Education please rise and remain standing? Would the candidates for the degree of Master of Science please rise and remain standing? In addition to these candidates, there are in absentia other candidates for the master's degree whose names appear on the program. Mr. President, on behalf of the faculty of Trinity University, I recommend these candidates for the master's degree.
By the authority delegated to me by the Board of Trustees and in accordance with the provisions of the Charter of Trinity University, I now confer upon those of you who have met the graduation requirements the master's degree for which you have been recommended, with all of the rights, privileges, and responsibilities pertaining thereto.
Would the recipients of the master's degree please be seated? The recipients of the master's degrees will now come forward to be hooded, to receive their diplomas, and to be greeted by the President and by Mr. Douglas Hawthorne, Chairman of the Board of Trustees. Master of Education, Roxana Montez Balzadua. Laura Kristenberry. Jennifer M. Emerson. Annalisa Holmes. Jane P. Hover. Juan Guillermo Tovar Juarez. Krista Paulette Maldonado. Kenise T. Millender. Adele Barnett Music. Rachel Christina Obermeyer. Ernest D. Ramirez. Deborah S. Rich. Fabiola A. Rivera. Christian N. Stafford. Dawn N. Stave. Bradley Terrence. Delinda Esther Trevino. Patricia A. Villarreal. Master of Science in Healthcare Administration. Alexa C. Calderon. Joshua A. Cameron. Tiffany Andrea Carroll. Kristen Denise Castillo. Claire Audrey Cobb. Presenting the degree is Douglas Hawthorne, Chairman of the Trinity University Board of Trustees and Founding Chief Executive Officer Emeritus of Texas Health Resources. Susan J. Dickerson. Wilson T. Dingmore. Vanessa Nicole Duran. Jonathan E. Fant. Yvette Garcia. Rendell Guerrero Gazingan. Presenting the degree is Mr. Douglas Hawthorne. Allison M. Gazinski. Kelsey L. Goodell. Stephen Michael Grigger. Lindsay Smith Herman. Kyle Johnson Landry. Thomas W. Lyles III. James Grant Magnus. Ashley Michelle Nelson. Cullen J. Paybody. Callie Ann Redding. Laura R. Tilley. Silvana Magali Vela. Mary A. Widener. Stephanie Marie Weichel. Nathan K. Worley. And this concludes the presentation of the master's degrees. Congratulations.
So as you know, this is my last commencement as president of Trinity University. I've been thinking about what kind of final message that I want to give to you, the graduates. To fit the occasion, it had to be something memorable and from someone who has an incredible impact on your lives. It is not me. And certainly, I am not going to try, as my colleagues have done, and channel dead Greeks. Nor will I try and channel the living Kim Kardashian. But I think Steve Jobs is probably a much better choice. So, ladies and gentlemen, you may turn on your iPhones, but after the benediction. So in the year in which many of you were entering kindergarten, Steve Jobs said, and I quote, "Here's to the crazy ones, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules, and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, disagree with them, glorify or vilify them. But the only thing you cannot do is ignore them, because they change things. Because the people who are crazy enough to think that they can change the world are the ones who do. So go out there, be a little crazy, always ask why, change the world, and remember Trinity."
Thank you, Dr. Alberg. Please rise for the singing of the alma mater led by Dr. Monfort. The words are printed in the back cover of your program. Please remain standing for the benediction.
Once we have concluded these graduation ceremonies, you are invited to join in the President's reception in the Great Hall of Chapman Center. After the benediction, please remain standing for the recessional. Now go from this place, sure in the knowledge that the one who created you and calls you by name is also the one who equips you with every good gift to do God's will. And may God's peace and wholeness into which you were born and for which you continue to be molded sustain you and flow forth from you wherever your adventure leads. Amen.